So a lot of these, they are a little crooked this way, and I don't mind that. I don't really care if they're level this way. Sometimes I intentionally like to leave them off center so that they have a tilted look to them. Tailstock in. Spinning a little bit and then run the tailstock in. Make sure everything's tight. Always wear a face shield when I first start in these because this stuff is wet for one thing. It's kind of sticky. And you never know if you miss. These are pretty solid pieces of wood, but you never know if something's going to fly apart, so a little bit of caution is a good thing. So we'll spin this up till it starts to kind of shake. And it's just slinging water off of it. And turn it down a bit. It's right at about 800. Super wet. So that's got a pretty round. I'm gonna dive in this way a little bit, put a tenon on it, and then that'll be it. I'll stabilize the bark with CA glue like I do on all this stuff. And then it's just gonna be repeat, repeat, repeat. So I'm gonna flatten out the bottom because it is off kilter a little bit, which is kind of what I wanted. So you can see there's a little over ½ inch there, and it's just about touching there. So I'll flatten that off, put a tenon on it. Spin it at about 750. Get my light over here, help my aging eyes. Probably rework that tenon. Let's get kind of a rough shape going here. Spin it about 900. Water's still coming out of it, slinging out of it. Pour it. Pretty nice shape. Now I'll smooth out this tenon. this point, what I would do is take this off, throw another one on, and just repeat this process. And then when I got tenons put on all of them, I would flip them around and hollow it out. But for this one, I'm just going to flip it around. And we're going to get down to kind of a thicker wall where I can let it sit and put it under the bench. The bark looks pretty good, so let's get him off of there. Oops. See, I got a little bit of bark missing here, so we'll probably get a little smaller in diameter. See what we can do. It's not a very thick bark anyway, but we'll see if we can retain as much as we can. There's a little bit of rotten stuff there too. So. Take just not too much more out of it because it's probably going to come down into here. So I think I'll leave that the way it is. Got 3/4 of an inch maybe in the bottom, a little over an inch around the side, so I'll leave that the way it is, and we're just going to move on and get the rest of these roughed out, and then I'll get some extra thin CA glue and coat this bark on every single one of them, and then they will go under the bench and sit for a while. So now it's just rinse and repeat. Alright, so here's the aftermath. I think there's 21 over there. We'll go take a look, but pretty good pile of shavings, and then the wet spot over there, and over here, that's how wet this wood is, which is nice because it's easy to cut. But on the other hand, you can see that it's just wet on the bed of the lathe, so you want to make sure you clean all that off. And then I'll put a grease-free kind of wax on there, same thing you use on your table saw table or anything like that. So, and then I make sure and get it on the post of the tool rest and any exposed metal like that. So you can see that it turned it dark here from where it was spraying all over, and that's just the acidity of the sap that's in the tree. But yeah, that tree just went down last summer, so it was pretty wet. I said easy cutting. Got maybe 10 minutes into each one of these, so there's 5, 10, 15, 21 I believe here. So the next thing we'll do is take and put super glue, some super thin CA glue, right where the bark meets the sapwood. And then we'll get them under the bench, and they'll probably sit under there for a few months. So the moisture content right now is high. I don't even bother to measure it. I do keep my shop climate controlled year round. So here's the equilibrium moisture content chart. And if we go down the 70-degree column, and we go over to 50% humidity, which is right here, 9.2%. So if I leave some wood sitting in here long enough, it will eventually get to 9.2%. Okay, so this is the one I'm going to follow through all the way through on this process. So the object here is to make sure that this bark sticks on there as the sapwood and the heartwood change shape as they dry and go from whatever this moisture, this wet moisture content is, down to something that's workable and stable when you put it in someone's house. So I'm using super thin CA glue here. Got a fan. Junky, noisy fan. But anyway, to blow the fumes away from me. So I'll just suck up some super thin CA glue here. We'll go around the inside first. And I just tip it away from the center so that it doesn't run down into the sapwood, stain it too terribly bad, even though we're going to be taking a lot of the thickness out of this. Pretty liberal with it. I want it to soak in as much as possible. And then I'll do the face of it. That's how it goes, and it'll just sit that way for however long until I get back to it, when the water evaporates or moves out of the wood, I should say. Alright, we'll get the rest of them. So there they are, and we'll let them sit under the bench for a while, and when I get to them, I'll get to them.